Hugh Tennent is co-founder with Ewan Brown of Tennant Brown Architects, based in Wellington. The studio has built a solid reputation for taking on a diverse range of projects, but Hugh is also in demand as an inspirational teacher and public speaker. In this work, as well as his architecture, Hugh's prepared to take on the big issues.
We live in an illusion about our dominance. We don't realise how interconnected we are to our environment. We're living like we're on 2.5 planets, and we can't. So, as architects, how do you create buildings and built environments which are not harmful to the life of the planet and the life of human beings? I'm not proposing in any way that we all go back to sort of pre-urban existence. It's impossible and too late, so we have to have urban solutions. How do you do that?
As part of designing dreams, I've visited amazing houses and buildings all over New Zealand, but never something like this. But then, Hugh Tennent is no ordinary architect, and one with a unique body of work.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe. Lovely to meet you here.
Yeah, you too.
The feeling of this place is very unique.
It's nice for me to be back here, actually. I think you're in for a treat.
Hugh's taking me to see some of his own projects and the designs of Kiwi architects he admires. What I know going in is Hugh often talks about his work being people-based, aiming to improve quality of life and the well-being of individuals, whānau, and the broader community. Hugh shows a consistent commitment to crafting beautiful buildings while remaining sensitive and responsive to each and every site. Hugh is also a deep thinker with an abiding interest in spirituality, something that led to one of his earliest projects, a Buddhist monastery set on 60 hectares here in the Lower Hutt suburb of Stokes Valley.
I'm fascinated. Like, how did you get involved in designing this?
I got involved as a graduate architect, and I'd gone travelling in Southeast Asia, and I had felt that there were some unanswered questions for me around the nature of life and these things. So I wanted to pursue meditation. I went up to the Himalayas, travelling and retreating. I sort of developed an interest in readings and things. You know, used to sit around drinking whiskey all night talking about enlightenment,
But actually not
not
practicing.
doing anything
Yeah.
other than talking about it, you know.
Yes.
And when I came back from that trip, I discovered that there were monks here in Wellington. I didn't even know this. So I'd go and sit with them, do meditation with them, and then they said, would I be interested in helping design a new temple, kind of in the Japanese tradition.
So in the 90s, you built this in the 90s?
91.
It's incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
It feels like it certainly belongs right here.
Yeah, no, it's a great setting, isn't it? And
It's
it really helps with the intention of the place, which is to be reflective, quieten down and then investigate what is this life. The abbot said to me, I'll look after the spiritual well-being of the community and you'll look after the building. And so they placed a lot of faith in me. Building masonry buildings that you get in Southeast Asia wasn't going to be affordable or seismically safe. So I ended up choosing to do the building out of New Zealand stick building taken to its max. And then I proposed the idea of a covered courtyard. And the abbot straight away said, I really like that idea because it helps you compose your mind when you're coming in.
Gee whiz. That's got some sort of feeling here.
Feel yourself, don't you? You feel self-aware. That was the intention. It's working.
It looks like it's come out of ancient Japan.
Yeah, it's got a dusty, sort of musty look about it, doesn't
like...
it? The doors are made of totara, rails and cedar. I got big 300 square macrocarpa and then chopped off the corners, then chopped off the corners and chopped off the corners and chopped off the corners.
You did that?
Yeah, yeah. I got to do the best bits.
Not many architects, you know, they design and then other people build, right? So the fact that you've got into this and you've actually laid your hands on this building, it must mean a lot to you.
Yeah, it does.
The centre is used by the local Buddhist community for all sorts of events, so I imagine it can get pretty busy at times, but somehow I doubt anything could disturb the all-pervading sense of stillness and calm. An important feature is the meditation room, where the community gathers to meditate and to chant in front of the rupa, a physical representation of the Buddha.
You can see the main focus here is the proportion. This is a square, and these two are golden rectangles. And then there's another square underneath the dado.
Oh, yes. You've actually got everything in perfect proportion.
Yeah, well, a proportion that's pleasing.
Yes, which is perfect.
Perfect, yeah. perfect for this. Yeah.
Hugh's design had to take account of precisely how the space was to be used, and that meant he had to closely consider and enhance something called reverberation time, RT.
The RT in here is about 2+ seconds. Quite echoey, so then when they do the chanting, it sounds good. You can fill it up with sound with the reverberation time. Not so good for speech, but as long as everyone's quiet, you know, you can hear the speech.
Hugh's overall design is deliberately simple and without embellishment, and it's what's missing that I find fascinating.
What I've noticed and I find really interesting is there's no poles holding up any of the roof line, which looks beautiful.
Yeah, it was really one of the early ideas was not to have poles. And, you know, you see that a lot in the big overhanging, stretchy roofs of Japanese temples, Chinese temples, where they have these very elaborate systems of cantilevering major and minor beams. So here it's much simpler, but it's nice because it connects you out. You feel the space of the bush coming in here, and then you feel the proportion of the space. Really helps just settle things down. There's less stuff for the mind to go into. So you're just left with yourself and your senses. It's all about what's the experience you're wanting to support or create or bring into being. And how do people feel in it?
For Hugh, the guidance of the abbot was critical to his understanding of how a monastery was designed to work.
Monastic environments are usually rural, you know, the desert, the mountains, these kinds of things, and just generally simplicity. So architecturally, a lack of complexity really supports that process of inquiry. So coming into a space like this generally stops people. And they just stand there for a short while. Just the impact that, you know, physical spaces and physical objects can have, using those skillfully as Hugh has, for sure.
Physically, Hugh's monastery design is the opposite of architecture that seeks to impress with its expanse and complexity. Here, Hugh was challenged to deliver buildings offering the opportunity for reflection and the beauty that can be found within. Coming so early in his career, this was a gift Hugh has never forgotten.
I've had the dream job. I got to design something I really cared about. I had a lot of control over it, got to build it. I was very fortunate.
Living spaces that work in harmony with their environment is a strong underlying theme in Hugh Tennant's architecture.
And one particularly fine example is this family home in the hills above Days Bay, across the harbour from Wellington. When Campbell McLaughlin and Rona Fraser returned to New Zealand from the UK with a growing family, they engaged Hugh to replace the existing house with a larger home and connect it closely to the surrounding landscape. The result is the widely acclaimed Cana house, showcasing Hugh's passion for sustainability and his skill at integrating house and land.
As you can see, it's an extraordinarily beautiful setting. You've got this amazing spur of beech forest. It's flowering, which it does every few years. So it's got this sort of orange tint. And then check out this garden. I mean, it's just extraordinary. The owners knew that they had an extraordinarily special posse here. I think they'd been looking at New Zealand, at their home place, thinking about it from back over there. So one of the first line in the house was, I want this to be a New Zealand house. When we come to a project like this, it's really a matter of listening, really feeling the site. Very early on, we have to really understand the track of the sun, the wind direction, all of those things that really impact the life living in a house through the different times of year, times of day. But at the same time, there's trying to understand a poetic or a spirit that's wanting to come through from the place, from the whenua, and from the clients. They were wanting a significant piece of architecture, allowing the environment to flow through the house, that the building was enhanced by the site, and as much as possible the site was enhanced by the building.
Owners Campbell and Rona named their new house Cana, after the Isle of Cana in the Scottish Hebrides. In this way, the couple retained something of their life on the other side of the world, but they were also keen on retaining and reusing as much of the old house as possible.
Well, it was quite a big decision to take down the existing house, but it was small, windowed rooms, none of which related to the bush, to the beach. It was really hard to see a way of changing that. I have an enduring sort of interest in supporting projects with a strong sustainability focus. What we did do was disassemble that house and take away all of the timber and store it, and then we used a lot of the native timber and put it back in. And here we are in the entrance hall. Everything sort of revolves around this space. One of the thoughts underneath this space and how we've detailed it is the idea of the Wai, the stream, which would have been coming down through the deepest part of the site here. Recycled matai on the trees and river stone embedded in the polished concrete, and a mauri stone of pōnamu that the clients had at the head, what Rona calls the oldest rocks in the world. These beautiful, worn, northern Scottish rocks that have been rolled under the sea out to the Hebrides. And so there's this embodiment of Aotearoa and Scotland. Rona is trained in opera. Campbell is an incredibly accomplished classical pianist. They've got a beautiful grand piano, and they like to make music together rather than watch a lot of TV, I think. So we actually had the request in the brief for a music room, which would house the piano and had a good acoustic. It's a special room, this, quite an unusual space to be asked to design. And there's a lot of the recycled timber from the house that was on the site. And you can see here how the wall here is curved rather than going to a corner. One thing we're looking for in a space like this is not too much reflection, otherwise the sound can bounce around. So when you listen to the length of that clap, it's about what we call an RT, reverberation time. It's about 1 to 1.5 seconds, and that's all. It doesn't keep on going. It softens the space, and it makes it a little bit like an instrument in itself. So here we are in the main family part of the house, the dining space. living, and the heart of the house, the kitchen, with its beautiful big green stone central island. And it's quite a generous space and highly interconnected, but still got its distinctive functions. This also acts as the sunroom. You can see the slightly twisted and canted ceiling, which lifts itself up to allow the light in and allow views right up into the beech forest. And the light, when it's rising over the hill through the trees, you can see that, and then it tilts down to control that western sun.
Where once the house here stood with its back to the forest, looking out over the garden, now house and site are fully connected with views to the front, above and behind.
Heading out into this rear courtyard. It's a pretty important space of the house, actually, and it's one place where you can see all the buildings kind of wrapping around this space. And also it's sheltered from the nor'wester, which is the wind that sort of comes in. And it's really connected to the beech forest. You can see the roof of the living space with its tilt this way and also tilt that way. And from the centre of that bedroom wing, that's the journey up through the rear of that wing up to the master bedroom, main bedroom, and Campbell's study at the top, which is like a little belvedere. Here we are in Campbell's study with its distant views of the harbour and looking down onto the house, the twisted roof of the living room, you can see right down into there. So a place of repose and retreat. So a pretty special spot. It is the terminus or the end of the journey. Places like that are well made by good builders with a lot of beautiful materials, they last. To live in a good house is a daily pleasure and a lovely thing to come back to. And it becomes an active part of life, you know, and that's why it's a real responsibility.
Hugh Tennent is an architect well known for his carefully considered and soulful buildings that work in harmony with their surroundings and have a strong focus on sustainability. So when Hugh invites me to visit a house that truly inspires him, it's a bit surprising to discover it's in one of New Zealand's most famously wealthy suburbs, Remuera in Auckland. Not only that, but the normally quite restrained Hugh fair raves about it.
I consider this house to be one of the most complete and sort of concise pieces of residential architecture in Aotearoa. It's incredibly considered in its planning and its structure and the way it's put together. It's symmetrical, not from this side, but from the other axis. And it's packed full of a whole lot of Kiwi solutions. So it's really stripped right back and you see all the structure. So the whole thing is breathing, it's changeable. Lots of ways of managing which space you're in, where you want to be in the day and in the light, the sun, the wind. Yeah.
It's a beautiful building. I love the exposed concrete block and the exposed steel for the veranda, and then those beautiful bifolding
The shutters
are like so cool. It feels like you'd be in the Amazon because it's
so lush.
It's so lush. Yeah, like it just doesn't feel like we're in at the bottom of Remuera, does it? It's like you could be anywhere.
Yeah.
What also blows me away about this home, it's nearly 30 years old, but looks like it was built yesterday. It has that timeless quality and has won multiple awards over the years, including New Zealand's Home of the Year in 1995.
I know I shouldn't say this, but I really love that, how they've left it exposed. And so you can really see the nuts and bolts and what this building's made of and how it's put together.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, that thing where you just see how it's made. Every stick is evident and nothing superfluous.
And then you've got, like, here, I mean, look at that. It's very alive, this house. Everywhere you look, you've got a little view through there where you see the bush. Down here, you see the water. Then up into the trees. It feels like you're living in the treetops.
It's not like you're actually hermetically separated from the environment at all, hardly anywhere.
That's right. Like, it's quite incredible, isn't it?
It's really clever the way, where you need the space in the room, you've got it. Like here, there's the dining and a little sitting area and the lounge down there. And then when you look up, you've got the master bedroom up there, so that's a really good house for a couple.
Yes.
But if you've got a lot of other people, you start to think, oh, you don't have any oral privacy there.
Exactly, it'd get pretty noisy, wouldn't it?
Teenagers watching TV and then mum and dad trying to go to bed early.
No, it doesn't work, but here for a couple it'd be fabulous.
Yeah. And then you've got the 2 rooms downstairs, which are beautiful.
Yes.
You know, just the way they have got that lovely open connection on 2 walls to the environment.
What architect Patrick Clifford has achieved here is so effortlessly elegant. This house oozes confidence. It's not trying too hard, it simply is. Very, very impressive.
It's cool, eh?
It's very cool.
There's a lot of clever things going on where he's exploring how light you can make a structure, how unified you can make a roof, how transparent you can make the spaces, how connected you can make everything. Every little piece is thought through in the right place, nothing extra. It's incredibly clever and well thought through and complete. And it's the sort of thing that one aspires to as an architect, or I do. And I love the balance, the way it's deftly settled into this beautiful environment. And also just the pleasure of seeing such a complete piece of architecture and how it's 30 years on and it's just quietly singing here in this beautiful dell. I've always admired Patrick's work. He's got a great architectural mind and he's a really good planner and form maker, and always having the structure as something that's very important, not hidden. People don't tend to build in those environments. Our legacy is we smash down the bush and get it out there and look at it. It's picturesque, and we have our space around the house, whereas he really embraced the location. So that house is a little architectural gem.
Hugh Tennant is not one to rest on his reputation. In fact, I suspect the fact he is so respected spurs him on. And while a high profile does come with responsibilities, there are opportunities as well.
One of the advantages of being a well-known and successful architect like Hugh Tennant is you get offered some amazing locations to showcase your designs.
And how's this for a location? A headland jutting out into Tasman Bay near Nelson at the top of the South Island. It's the sort of site you could build a mansion on, but Hugh took a quieter approach, reflecting his love for non-intrusive designs that nestle within their landscapes.
Alex and Linda, our clients, bought a double section with amazing cliffs down to the water. I did not want to see that headland with a cutout like missing teeth and a house sitting in it. So what we ended up doing was plotting those trees and weaving the house through the trees.
There were 2 potential building sites here, one quite exposed with expansive views into neighbouring Abel Tasman National Park, and one that hunkered down out of the wind, but was facing south, and this was the site they eventually chose.
This is the welcoming place, really, where you come down. There's this beautiful, immediate connection to the water and the trees, which is just incredibly restful and beautiful. There is actually a sense of the house revealing itself as you come down because you're hidden, you don't see it straight away. Fanning out in these lovely sort of horse steps down onto the grass. And you can see the key ideas of the house here. A welcoming piece of grass that you can use in different ways. One of the key ideas in laying out this house on this part of the headland was this idea of making a necklace of connected platforms that are subtly managing the topography and really then resting on the ground. So, you can see the pool here, the fire, the outdoor living and the indoor living, and they're all just subtly shifting rather than flattening a whole area. There's another level there which was added by Alex and Linda for Rafe and Indy, a tree fort, the prow, and there's a little ramp that you can haul up where the dog could get up and join the kids up there. So it really is a story of levels around the headland.
Inside, it's all timber and glass, something we've just seen in the Clifford-Forsyth house in Auckland. So clearly, a style that Hugh is inspired by and greatly respects.
I love this room. It's really nice to be back here and feel the clean structure, which is what we were after, with these big Lawson's cypress laminated posts and the glass just let into them. And also the room's got a crank in it, a bend, which allows that journey around the headland, and lovely travertine floor, and then the wooden joinery of the kitchen and the connection back to the entrance. The other key thing, of course, is the light, how the roof lifts up to allow the light in because we're in a southern position. Really important. And the high glass allows this lovely connection into the beech forest of the headland. This is where you really feel you're on a headland. And the house bends here. There's a hinge point where the two wings bend and the floor drops away. Just as the ground drops away, you really get to know that you're on the headland and you're right over Tasman Bay in that extraordinary colour. I think Tortora stairs and Macrocarpa or Lawson's balustrade and a bookcase underneath. On a day like this, you can open everything up and it's very restful and connected to the bay. Master bedroom and the very end of the bedroom wing. And you can feel this extraordinary relationship to the edge, the very steep slope here. So all of these decks are cantilevered out. But isn't it amazing, just you can see the rocks, the water coming in around the rocks, that extraordinary teal blue and the purples of the kelp. And here we've got this stepping, undulating ground plane, and the bedrooms occupy their own level with little decks off each one, and we're really hanging out over the edge here. So it has to be robust in this environment, marine environment. The timber joinery, that does require some maintenance. Hence the eaves to help shelter the walls of the building and provide sheltered posies when you come out the doors. Everyone can come out onto their own little deck, but they're all connected. And it is an environment where you can really open and close buildings, more so than Wellington. was a lot of effort from myself and our wonderful builders where we could keep the trees that occupy the ridgeline from the sea, and the house sort of winds through the trees. And so therefore the house is recessive and not imposing on the landform and on the nature. And I think that integration is a hallmark of this project.
Here at Otaki on the Kapiti Coast is an ongoing project that's seen Hugh collaborate with 3 local iwi and cement his interest in and connection to kaupapa Māori. Educational Centre for Higher Learning, Te Wānanga Otakawa, opened in 1981 with just 2 students. Now with the roll of over 4,500, the campus is expanding in all directions.
We're sitting in front of Ngā Purupura, which was the first kaupapa we did for the Wānanga. And across the road we've got Waitapu, which is the administration building, under construction, the new one, and the whole replanning of the centre of the campus. You've got this expression in the architecture of Te Whare Tapa Whā. It talks about taha tinana, the physical side, taha hiningaro, the mental and emotional side, taha wairua, and taha whānau. And what we were doing with the design was to give expression to those rather than the 4 sides of the house. We sort of made this idea of 4 houses, 4 folded roofs. And it solved the classic problem when you've got a big box thing like a warehouse or a sports hall. How do you put the human scaled elements beside it? So we started by doing these 4 folds that leaned up against the big element.
For a Pākehā like Hugh, albeit one with a good grasp of te reo and tikanga, language and custom, the challenge was to genuinely try to understand and appreciate what was required in this Māori educational establishment.
There is a Māori worldview and there's a Pākehā worldview. I mean, there's lots of diversity within those views, but there is a distinction. And so to come in and needing to serve that worldview and sort of try and see through that in a way, and that's an ongoing, long journey. This is the biggest space on campus, clearly. It's a 2-court basketball, netball chamber, and it's multi-purpose. It's used by the Wānanga for graduation ceremonies, for international Indigenous film festivals, and for sport. Your 5 senses, seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, all of those things are part of your experience of a building, not just a visual sense. And also there's the mental and emotional sense, and part of that is culture, part of that is relationship, part of that is intellectual thinking and thoughts. So I'm conscious when designing, try and feel into how would it be for people in that space. This is inside the Noapuku sort of meditation reflective space, which is right within the atria of Ngā Purupura. It's a rather lovely room with this shell structure of these triangulated panels. And even though it's in the atrium, which is quite a noisy, busy place, there's a lot of acoustic separation. When this idea was first proposed in our drawings, people warmed up to it. You know, you'd expect the atrium to be empty. And at times I think it's possibly in the way when you've got a big group, but it's loved and used. This whole wānanga, in fact, is, and all of these buildings are about strengthening connection to culture, strengthening connection to the knowledge, to the language, to those things that make Māori world what it is.
Ngā Purupura is a valued addition to the wānanga, so much so that Hugh was invited to return for another major project, a central student hub, lecture theatre and library.
The concept here, we thought about tāwhaki and the journey to the heavens and the coming back with the baskets of knowledge, and it seemed to fit really nicely with what they were wanting to achieve here, which was a lecture theatre with all of these whakairo, a wharepukapuka, a library, and a home for the tauira that are staying at the wānanga on their courses. And you can see in the central form, ki te urururangi, and inside there is this beautiful collection of whakairo, a mahau, the front carvings for a wharanui. And then to evoke that idea of the baskets, there's this sort of woven quality around pretty prosaic metal-clad buildings to just provide another layer of expression of that main kōrero of the baskets of knowledge. This is the lecture theatre, and everyone's encased in this beautiful storyboard of whakairo representing all the marae and the whole rohi up and down the coast. You can see the shape, it actually tilts subtly. You don't really notice it, but the roof form and ceiling is falling down to the front. The whakairo and the mahi and the pāhuhu required this central part to be lifted up, and it's actually got a twist in it. As it goes back, it gets flatter. And it's been a real privilege to have been able to assist in creating this.
For the last of his favourite New Zealand homes designed by other architects, Hugh Tennent has brought me to Parapara Umu on the Kapiti Coast. The population of this whole region has grown dramatically in recent times, and so many coastline sections have been subdivided and more homes built. There are, though, a few classic Kiwi batches left, holding on tight, reminding us of summers past and the promise of ones to come.
This was a house designed by Gerald Parsonson, a batch for himself and his family, and it's full of magic for me. It's just sitting down in here, small scale, but I think that's what interests me.
It really is the quintessential New Zealand batch, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Gerald had the opportunity to design a batch for himself and his family to explore what is the life of being in a batch. What is the daily life? What is the social life? What are the things you need and what don't you need? We're getting picked up by the carport, little floating modernist thing. And instead of the decking being across like that,
Yeah, it leads
it's all running from the hills to the sea.
Yes. Well, this is a nice touch, the power shells.
Yeah. Up we come onto this lovely wooden floor, and then you suddenly see the sea. The things I really like are the way it's understated. Jed is a master at using low-cost materials in a really beautiful way. It's all kind of using ordinary things, but really thoughtfully. I really like that. It makes me think that, well, you know, this kind of thoughtfulness is accessible budget-wise. There's a bit of money in the joinery and a nice timber floor. The rest of it's really straightforward. But boy, you know, there's a whole lot going on. It's really taking you in different moods. You know, you get compressed, you get expanded, you get intrigued, you get held. Very clever, just using simple stuff.
It's got a really wonderful feel, this place, hasn't it? Like, you can feel like you just sit down in the corner there. It's not flash, it's not ostentatious, but it's just laid back, cool.
The somatic experience, you know, you have 5 senses, and, you know, seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, and the emotional and mental sense. If they're all activated by the architecture, that's a lot richer than just a big moment of kind of mind-blowing sort of amazement, because that's what you kind of live with
Yes.
all the time. And that's why this is a really good house to share. because it's got those special qualities.
It's so cozy and comfortable. It's a lot of me, that's for sure. And it's a lot of Hugh too, I think. There are echoes here of the Cana house at Days Bay and of Toko overlooking Tasman Bay. But I have to say, I really wasn't expecting this.
Jed calls this watermelon red, and then he's got these orange windows, and the way they're set right up against the ceiling and the floor, so that the light from the orange glass gets cast onto the surfaces, and it's so immersive.
So cool.
Yeah, so it actually changes your inner state, unless you're kind of full of thought, but even then it would have an effect.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
The house inspires me to be inventive to the very end. Every little surface, every little door, every window, he was doing things. This is a bunk room, crammed in, but pretty relaxed. Everyone's got a little pocket for their gear.
Yeah.
Here, and chuck your gear, climb up.
Yeah, mate, I've got excited. I want to just have a little try of that. Oh, yeah. There'd be a lot of noise coming out of this bedroom, eh? Like, can you keep quiet?
Yeah, I wonder what the doors
It's
are
time
like.
to go to
Hollow
sleep.
core doors too.
The private areas of the bach are certainly different from the public spaces, but the feel of the place as a whole changes depending on where you're viewing it from. And according to Hugh, the very best spot is out here.
I just wanted to point out this lovely composition that Jed's got going, where he's got these horizontal elements, just the glass sliver, and then that little belvedere, and this quite substantial sort of toe of the chimney. And really, you know, it's all you need. It's a building that doesn't get used all the time, so why pump millions of dollars and tons of carbon into something that's not used all the time? And there's no jazz. It's really straightforward, but it's really well composed.
I've really enjoyed my time with Hugh, and I've learned a lot. With such a notable career behind him, and plenty still to come, I'm sure. What I really admire is Hugh is not trying to impress anyone except the people who live or work or play in the buildings he creates. For Hugh, it's not about flash or fancy. It's about the way a place makes you feel. Simple things, well done. Natural light, connection to sight, and honest, affordable materials. That's a success to Hugh, real, sustainable success. And to me, that's a big win for everyone.